Hey, beautiful people, happy Wednesday. It is midweek inspiration, and we are talking about identity and why it is making you sick, broke, and sad. I know it sounds a little dramatic. Bear with me though. I want to start by saying, however, that there is a difference between identifying with something, right? And when I say that, I mean I identify as a liberal, as a conservative, as someone in the LGBTQ plus community, as a woman, as a man, XYZ. There's a difference between identifying with something, which is important for your mental health. It very much can be, right? When you feel like you have your sense of self, you're part of a community, you feel accepted. That's really important. That's kind of identifying with something. But when you make something your identity, you become very close-minded and you start to adopt things that you may not even believe in. It just consumes your personality, takes over your life, and you actually become a victim. I'm going to go over that in just a second, but you know what it is. I need you to like, comment, share, subscribe, do all the things. I always get awkward at this point and I start making weird accents. Just do the things for me because you love me and I love you so. Okay, so again, there's a difference between identifying with something, which can, make you feel part of a community, give you kind of that sense of self, make you feel accepted. That's great. That's wonderful. I would never tell anybody, not to identify with things that make them happy. But when you take on something as your identity, and let me give you a quick, easy, clear example, because I said, conservative versus liberal, right? If you identify as a conservative, then you have certain values that are, conservative. They are XYZ. If you identify as a liberal person, then you have liberal values, XYZ. It's important to know what your values are, right? And you know that the political candidate has those same values, that's who you're going to vote for. But when you begin to have this identity of I am a conservative, I am a liberal, it gets into a danger zone here because you become so obsessed with that identity and you close your mind to anything else around you to the point where I've seen many people around me and out in the world who, no matter what, they will vote the Republican candidate because they've always been a Republican, or a Democratic candidate because they've always been a Democrat, regardless of if they actually believe in that candidate's values. They may not even know what their values are. They don't even research. They just say, well, I've always voted Republican, so I'm going to vote Republican, or the other way around, right? And that's dangerous because you stop thinking for yourself, you stop questioning things, and you start just going with whatever your identity tells you that you are, that you believe. And it's dangerous. It's very dangerous because then we start to lose that free thinking. We start to lose that independence. And that's what makes the world go round. And nobody wants to live in a society where we all think the same way. I feel like life would cease to exist because there'd be no growth and evolution and movement forward. So other examples of, having something become your identity are, I'll tell you, for me, and if you're an entrepreneur, or even if you're just trying to grow your finances in your life, even if you work at a 9-to-5, same thing, I identify with people who are up and coming, who are hustlers, who are, independent musicians. That's great, but I've allowed it to become my identity to the point where I'm stuck in this paradigm of I am a hustler. I work really hard, I earn what I got. I've come a long way, but I'm still not there yet. And then there's this sense of like, I need to be humble, so I can't really celebrate my wins too much because I'm still working on it. And again, if you're just identifying with other people who are, hustling with you, who are on the come up too, that's great. But my identity has become that I am a hustler. What's wrong with that? Well, I'm stuck in this paradigm of I am working on it. I'm climbing the mountain. I'm hustling. I keep saying the word hustling, but it's just the best word to use because there's nothing wrong with it. But when it's your entire identity and who you are, then there's no room for, hey, I've accomplished a lot of the things that I set out to do. It's time to celebrate. And while there will always be work to do and room to grow, I can at least say that, hey, I've made it to becoming a professional musician, which for me I have. I am technically a professional singer, right? And songwriter. I get paid to do it. It's what I do full time. I don't have a 9 to 5. This is not my side hustle. It's not just a pipe dream anymore. I don't have a record deal. I'm not Beyonce, but I am a paid singer-songwriter, and I love it. And I have a blessed life because of it. So when I began to make this my identity of I'm on the come up, it's like very self-deprecating, right? There's a lot of that. It's a lot of, again, I need to be humble, so I don't appreciate any of my accomplishments. I water down my success, and when people give me compliments, I'm getting better at this, but I tend to go, oh, well, yeah, I mean, I'm working on it, I try, rather than saying, when they say to me, your voice is beautiful, you're talented, rather than saying, thank you, I really appreciate that. I have to backtrack and go, oh, well, thank you, I'm working on it, I'm trying. It's been a long time in the game. Why do I feel the need to say that? I guess partially that's an insecurity thing. I'm afraid of what people think. If I just say, thank you, I appreciate it, then they'll think I'm cocky or something. But a lot of it is rooted in that identity of, I can't see myself as successful, as, hey, I've made it. I'm not comfortable with it because it's like a completely different reality. And when you get stuck in your identity, you're not able to grow outside of that, right? Like, it's your entire universe. So it's really important to recognize if you're in a state where something has become your identity. You grew up in a family that was blue collar, that struggled, that worked hard for everything they got, and maybe you've made it to the other side. Maybe you have a successful business or things are going well, but you still seem to struggle a lot. You might want to consider that maybe you are obsessed with this identity of being a blue collar hard worker, if that makes sense. You can't get past that. And I think why we're struggling to get past our identities is because it feels uncomfortable. It feels scary. You don't know who you are without those things. If you've been a blue collar worker who struggled their whole lives, whose family worked really hard, and now you're super rich, right? You're making 100K plus, and business is popping off, and the people around you are going, wow, like, how did you get so lucky? You feel like an imposter. It's completely imposter syndrome because you have identified with and made your identity this thing for so long. So we're afraid to move outside of our identity because we don't like change and we're comfortable where we are, and that's understandable. I'm very comfortable where I am, but I know that it's, becoming detrimental to me to constantly see myself as, I'm on the come up, I'm on the come up, I'm climbing the mountain. I identify with that too much, and then I never get to enjoy or see myself as successful. I don't get to enjoy my success. So anyhow, it's important to recognize that a lot of us have become victims, right? Because we have not just identified with, let's say as a woman, I identify with feminists. I've experienced sexism in my life, and because of that, I really identify with feminism, and I'm just giving this as an example. So when I hear rally cries, from other women, I'm like, hell yeah, that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. But when it becomes my identity, I start to feel like every situation I am a victim of the patriarchy. Every man that I meet wants to take advantage of me or probably is making more money than me. And I'm not saying that it's not true and that doesn't exist, but you begin to obsess with it and take it on to the point where you'll start seeing things that, either don't exist or aren't really as serious as you think they are, and you just become a victim of life. And that leads to a lot of unhappiness, illness, right? That's another one. When you begin to make your sickness, let's say that you are really sensitive to a lot of foods, you have a lot of allergies, sensitive skin, you know, you're diabetic, whatever it is, it's not a lie. It's the truth of your situation. It's not like you're making it up or you're a hypochondriac, you're crazy. But there's a difference between saying, hey, I'm experiencing a lot of allergy symptoms. It seems like when I eat a lot of these different foods, I have issues. That's a fact. But when you become like obsessed with it and it's your identity, then it becomes poor me. It becomes life isn't fair. And not only the emotions like that, but also you actually start to look for any little thing that goes wrong. You look for more excuses to, you know, reconfirm your reality, reconfirm that identity, right? I am sensitive. I'm very, very sensitive. Everything I eat seems to give me a problem. You seem to notice any little twinge in your body then, right? And just say, well, there you go. That proves it right there. See, what did I tell you? You know, I have never even eaten this food before. I guess I'm allergic to it, right? Because I'm feeling like I'm getting itchiness on the back of my neck. I don't know. And maybe you got bit by a mosquito, but you become so obsessed with that identity that you create things that aren't real sometimes. I do this all the time, and actually mine is the health thing, right? My stomach is so sensitive. My system is so sensitive. I, somewhere along the line, began to identify and create an identity of being sensitive, being an empath, right? Being very empathic. It's not a negative thing to be empathic, right? It generally makes you a kinder, more compassionate individual. But when you take on the identity of I'm an empath, I'm sensitive, then you're constantly seeking out unconsciously things that prove that, right? So now it seems like everything I eat, every medicine I take, I'm one of those people that cannot smoke marijuana at all. I've tried every single strain, every form, eating it, doing the drops, smoking it, and no matter what, because my identity says I am sensitive to everything. I don't like anything giving my body any type of shift of how it feels. I freak out every single time. My heart races. I feel like I'm spinning. I'm anxious and paranoid. It doesn't matter what strain it is before you say, oh, you just need indica, or you just need this, you just need that. I've tried it all, my friend. And I can't get past that point of, oh my God, panic. My body's freaking out. I'm working on it, but again, it's part of my identity that I have to break, that I'm sensitive, right? So again, you're not lying to yourself for saying that something's not real. If you're a diabetic, you're not denying that, you know, you have diabetes. You have to be careful with your sugar right now. But you're not taking on this identity of, I am a sick person, right? Because often when you have some type of disease, then it's hard not to identify with, or, you know, become obsessed with being sick, having a problem, feeling broken. And that's really what I'm trying to come to in all of my rambling and repetitiveness here. Thanks for sticking with me. Is when you make something your identity, you become stuck in the states of, you know, emotion, the states of being that are often very negative. There's positives to them, right? But the negative comes with it too, and you can't move out of that. So you become obsessed with being that sick person. You become obsessed with being that person who struggles with money, right? Even if you are making more money, your mentality is always, I'm a hustler, I struggle, I scratch and claw my way to the top. Do you really want to live like that forever? You know, are you okay with forever being the sick person, being the person who struggles, being the person who has a hard time, you know, being social, you're socially awkward? That's another one I hear from young people now. Millennials my age, and then the younger crowd especially is, oh, I'm just socially awkward. I have social anxiety. Okay, that is a real thing. I'm not saying that you're making it up, but are you making that who you are now to where you can never break out of that? It's like you put your foot down and you say, that's it. That's who I am. There's no changing it, no way around it. And, you know, you go through your whole life that way. And, you know, you don't give yourself the opportunity to move past it, to maybe improve the situation. So anyways, my friends, just be aware of what you are making your identity. and try experimenting with going against it. I'm not saying if you're sick, you have an illness, to, pretend it's not there or deny it, but question whether, is this who I am, or is this just something that I'm experiencing right now or I experienced in the past? And I promise you that if you start to do that, so you'll notice a lot of things that don't serve you anymore that you can start to let go of. Anyways, my friend, I'm going to finish my coffee and I'm out. Love you.